Hey everyone. So, just as a disclaimer, what you're going to hear me go through in this episode is simply just my off the cuff wish list. Like, I'm not trying to predict the movie. I'm not trying to say that if these things that I'm stating aren't in the movie, that I'm going to hate the movie and that I'm going to be closed minded to it. It's just simply me, as a longtime Scream fan who kind of knows the franchise inside and out, kind of like what are my particular sensibilities about the franchise. Like, if these things don't happen, but Kevin does something else or the movie goes a different approach, I will be open minded to whatever movie is dishing out to me. I want to love this movie, but I also, want to just be honest too that this is kind of like where my heart and mind are right now. So we should be open minded, but also have a healthy sense of ourselves and our expectations. But when I say expectations, I'm not demanding them. I'm just saying that this is supposed to be something, this is supposed to be a fun exercise. So everyone, please enjoy and, feel free to have your own wish list and feel free to, continue to comment on any of my posts and tell me what you'd like to see in the movie. So, and there is going to be a discussion later on in the episode around the 45-minute mark where I talk about the new piece of information we have that Scream 7 will not be screened early for critics. This is kind of like a under the radar thing that has been around in the discourse over the past couple of days, and I have very deep opinions about this as someone who knows a lot about the film critic world and understands why Paramount is doing it. I think it's twofold. I think it's about the spoilers, but I also think it's about the integrity of the film critics as it relates to the drama surrounding Scream 7. Please listen. It's going to be around minute 45. Please enjoy this message from David Arquette sent in by the fabulous Carrie Tenney.
Hey Ryan, how are you? Thanks for doing the Scream podcast.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I don't know.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
You are listening to Scream with Ryan C. Showers, the podcast for Scream fans just like you. Join Ryan every week as he takes a deep dive into the horror film series that defined the 90s and redefined the genre. Scream with Ryan C. Showers is your source for scene and quote analysis, character dissections, and the latest news about upcoming installments of the Scary Movie franchise.
I hear you like horror movies, Kirby, but do you like them as much as him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. In the lead up to Scream 7, I couldn't be more grateful for everybody out there who listens to the show, who supports my podcast here, listening every episode, or on social media on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. If you would like to become a member of the podcast, come to the group Zooms, be on the show on a one-on-one or small group setting, consider joining the Patreon with Scream with Ryan C. Showers. In addition to the benefits of coming on the podcast, you can also join our social media groups, in particular on Instagram. That's the main hub of the podcast. I also do a monthly audio commentary of a Scream movie or a Scream-related film. From now through April, we are going to be having a new Scream movie audio commentary. So if you would like to hear my thoughts in an audio commentary form in the style of Wes Craven, Marion Maddalena, et al. Of the original trilogy, please consider subscribing and supporting the show. Thank you to every single person out there who subscribes on Patreon. So I need to thank TJ Jones, who does all of the graphic design work for the podcast, and Ashley Summers, who helps me produce the show every week. In addition, I need to thank everybody over at Patreon, including the Stab Investors and Daddy Ghostfaces. The Daddy/Mama Ghostfaces, they include Carrie Tenney, Corey Wilson, Andrew Dominguez, and Brett Janovich. I also need to thank all of my Stab investors. They include Mark Harim, Josh Carr, Allie, Tamika Jones, Christian Ranke, David D., Gustavo Mora, Jess Mariano, Joey Nabrini, aka The Vault, John Cardney, Josh Camillari, Scream Queens Podcast, both Josh and Justine, Kevin Abner, Mark Vieira, PWO5, aka Philip Douglas, Roy Garza from the Hoodie Talks podcast, Ryan Not Dying Young, Sam Levy, and Stevie Shears. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me. Oh my God, guys, we are so close to Scream 7. It is so exciting. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope everyone had a great Valentine's Day and are winding up for Scream 7 next week. I'm just so excited. This episode's coming to you on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Literally in 1 week from now, we are going to be seeing Scream 7. At least the majority of us who are probably listening to this podcast, we're going to the fan event on Thursday night. And if you aren't, then you'll be seeing it Friday and Saturday, whatever. But, that it's so close, guys. It is so close. So we're going to be coming to you with a lot of fun Scream 7 talk. In this episode, we are going to go through our Scream 7 wish list. So this is very fun. I'm going to be doing the main portion with my friend Ashley. It's going to kind of intertwine between Scream 7 and the Taylor Swift song Wish List, because I'm styling the episode title in the style of the song Wish List, which is track 8 on The Life of a Showgirl. She has $ as the S's. And this segment with me and Ashley was actually recorded before we got the box office projections and before we had the pre-sale numbers. So I referenced that I want it to be 50 million, and we kind of it's funny because in the Taylor song, right, it's the $ as the S, and then I kind of referenced, I would love it to be 50, but it's probably not going to be. And hello, I've already gotten a wish on my list, or at least that's the projection now. A lot can still happen, but the pre-sales are the pre-sales, and money doesn't lie. So I got a wish list. I just want you. That's what I'm saying to Scream 7. That's what I'm saying to Sidney Prescott, Nev Campbell, Kevin Williamson, Courtney Cox. I just want you guys. I just want this movie. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna give a little warm up here. I'm going to go through some of the items on my wish list. I have some very, very specific things here. On the segment with Ashley that you're going to hear after this, there were broader points that were made, but I have some nitty gritty, weird Ryan C. Showers isms that are going to be listed out that I want to see in Scream 7. It's gimme. Okay. But also, in addition to reading off some of my wish list items, I'm going to be reading off some of the comments that were left across my social media posts. A couple of weeks ago, I put out a post that said, everybody, hey, what's on your Scream 7 wish list? When I say probably thousands of responses, I mean thousands of responses. So I won't be able to read everyone's wish list off, but I hope to include enough people that everyone feels represented and that we get a good sense of what the Scream fandom wants. So, okay, well, without further ado, let's get to it. My Scream 7 wish list, the weird, very ultra specific Ryan C. Showers thing. My number one thing, okay? And honestly, it could go 50-50. It could go either way. Either we get this or we don't. My number one thing on my wish list is I need to go directly to Sydney after the opening scene. So basically, Scream 1, Scream 2, 3, and 4, after the opening scene and after the title card for the sequels, we go directly to Sydney, and it's a catch up and it's a reflection of where she is at in her life and where we're starting her out in the story. Scream 1, Scream 2, and Scream 3 are all flawless scenes. I really like the scene from Scream 4, but for me, it's really important just for the Scream formula and for this to be noticed as a Sydney story, for it to go directly to her. I want it to be Sydney and Mark. I want it to be, them in bed together before she goes over to Tatum's bedroom that we've seen in the TV spots. That's so important about the original trilogy that we always went to Sydney right after the opening credits. We didn't do Gail Weathers. We went directly to Sydney. So I think that Kevin understands that this is a Sydney movie and that he's talked about this at the fan event, at the Q&A. He disclosed that we go directly from whenever the movie starts, we get the Paramount logo, and underneath the Paramount logo is going to be Sydney's Lament, which is a beautiful touch. That's how it should be. And he basically said at that event that he did that purposefully because he wants everyone to know right up front that this is a Sydney story. So I think that Sydney and Mark in bed, happy, is what we're going to see first of Sydney. So moving on, backtracking here. Let's just say Jimmy Tatro and Michelle Randolph, these two characters who are at the Stumacher house staying overnight in the Airbnb. Whatever the opening scene is, I need there to be depth to these characters. I want a really fantastic opening scene. It's hard to imagine any movie that's ever going to be made is going to accomplish what Scream 1 and Scream 2 did with their openings. Here's the thing. The spectacle is going to be there. The meta is going to be there. But I want the characters to be really good. I want to care about them as they're dying. So I would say that that's a huge item too. In terms of if you want a competitive opening. To be honest, here's a little spoiler. I don't really get bent out of shape about the Scream openings. I care 10 times more about the Scream finales than I do the openings because they don't feature our main characters. They're, I don't know. the whole movie's building to the mystery of what we get in the finale versus the opening. It's sensational and stuff, but like, if Scream 7 wants to compete as a film that has a great opening against the other films in the series, the characters have to be good. They can't just be like flat, two-dimensional, unlikable. So there's no Laura Crane. Like, I love Samara Weaving, but fuck, they did her dirty. Like that conversation is pitiful in Scream 6. Like, they should be ashamed. So, okay, one thing else. I need there to be consequences for Gail from Scream 5 and 6. Like, I really need them to give Gail a sense of history. Gail just can't keep popping up as though, she just reverts back to the Gail of 2021. Like, she needs to be someone who is evolving, and each time that she goes into a Scream movie, she is affected by it. She is impacted by the events, and especially after Scream 6, where she was almost killed. Like, that sequence in Scream 6, for it to matter, a lot of people will say that that's one of the best sequences in the franchise, and I like it. It's a great scene. It's the best scene in the movie, but calm down. For it to matter and for it to carry that significant weight, okay, there has to be consequences for her. Like, there has to be some nerve damage. There has to be a limp. There has to be physical malfunction or a physical scar. I want Gail, and also the emotional scar. I want Gail to talk about this with Sydney. I want her to talk about what she felt like in that moment. And speaking of, here we go. I need Sydney and Gail in the epilogue. Like, I love an epilogue. I want Sydney and Gail to be in the epilogue together. I want there to be some resolution to their friendship. I want there to be a statement made, whether it's visually, whether it's like in dialogue, about who they are as the gloomy girl and the sassy girl of the franchise, the two queens of Scream. I think it's really important that they have that moment after the events of everything that's gone on. I want the epilogue to show conclusivity. Scream 5's epilogue is something that I actually really love. I think it's a huge strength of that movie. This is where, like, Scream 4 versus Scream 5, I think Scream 5 is a bit stronger. Like, Scream 4 ending on Jill's face, like, I get it. I get the importance. I would have included the epilogue with them the next day. It's just a nice little cherry on top. And with Scream 5, I think it's a great epilogue for showing that the movie is over, the story is complete, but there's still more room to grow. So I just think that when you have a Scream movie, you can't leave things hanging. There's been a lot of speculation about a cliffhanger as it pertains to Scream 7. I just don't want one, because you never know what the future holds. Like, literally, there's that saying, tell God your plan and he'll laugh. Tell God that you're going to have a Sam Carpenter trilogy in 3 movies, and he would have laughed in your face, okay? So, side note, I want to remind everybody, we did the first Scream 5 review episode, me, Joey Velisi, and Mark Harim. So, Joey Velisi, he said something so funny. He was like, I would love to see a Scream 6 about Sam and Tara that maybe features their mother, and then I would like to see Scream 7 maybe about Sydney and her daughters. And it was just like, something that no one could have predicted, because we're all in the mind of like the trilogy. Sam would have gotten 3 movies, and Joey somehow thought of that. Hashtag Joey's always right. He wrote those amazing scripts, episodes 112, 155, and 275. Go check them out if you want some extra Scream content as we gear up for this release of Scream 7. But yeah, how serendipitous Joey said that. So another thing on my wish list is, so we know that Scott Foley is in Scream 7. He's going to speak in Scream 7. He's going to be in the movie. I would really like it if Sydney were to acknowledge Roman as her half-brother. For me, that would just make the movie complete. And, Kevin has actually acknowledged recently Sydney's different professions. So, like, in Scream 3, Kevin referenced how Sydney was, the crisis counselor. And then in Scream 4, she wrote the book. So I think that Kevin is actually doing a great job at kind of scooping up all of the films and hugging them close. And I think just, I know that Scott's going to be in this. We don't know how. We don't know why. Another thing here is that, and I don't think this is going to happen. So, I previously wanted like a Sydney versus Stu type marketing. I wanted something like that, and it doesn't look like we're getting it. It looks like they're keeping the plot and the AI of it all very close to the chest. In Scream 7, at this point they've only released the one trailer in October, and then we've just gotten TV spots, Q&As, and interviews, and posters and stuff like that. I think that it would have been really cool to have seen like a Neve Campbell, Matthew Lillard like side by side. I think that would have really ramped up some interest. I think it would have been a spectacle. I think it would have caught the internet by storm. But it doesn't seem like Paramount's going that way. And I don't blame them, but I think it's a missed opportunity. What are you going to do? Or, Sydney versus Ghostface. We've seen kind of this, but not really. Like, I'm thinking like the way that like Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are standing back to back in the Halloween Ends poster. I would love for Nev Campbell and Ghostface. I would love to see a poster where they're kind of doing that same pose, just to kind of emphasize like this is Sydney versus Ghostface. So, and speaking of, another thing I have in the finale is like, I really don't want Tatum to be kind of overshadowing Sydney. I really want Sydney to be the complete focus of the finale. I think Tatum should be there. I think she should play a role, but I don't think that it should be her and Sydney together, like kind of like how it was, how Tara and Sam were together in Scream 6. I don't want that. I want like a Sydney versus the Ghostface or Ghostfaces, like the original trilogy often was. I think that would be the best. I think, we don't know what the future holds and how much time we get to spend with Sydney, because let's be real, folks, like, it is possible that this is the final time that we will ever have Sydney Prescott be the main character in the same way that she is right now, in the way that she was for Scream 1, 2, and 3. This may be the last time where it's a completely Sydney-centered film. We have no guarantees that this could ever happen again. So we have to just embrace this moment and really juice every bit of enjoyment out of this opportunity. It may happen again. Scream 8 may be about Tatum, Scream 9 may be about Sydney, or maybe about them together, but we will never have this moment again where it's Sydney's first chapter as a mother, and she is the main character in the same way that she was in the original trilogy. That's a beautiful thing, and we have to embrace it and really recognize and enjoy the experience. Next up. So we've seen the iconic shot of Gale Weathers getting out of her car in the Scream 7 trailer. There's a lot of speculation about Gale possibly in this moment. I don't want to spoil anything, but it could be likely that she just comes in Act 2, that she's not in the first act. I think this would be a mistake. And this is one of the areas where I don't think I'm going to get what I want. I hope I get what I want, because I know what I want. I just want Gale Weathers in Act 1 of Scream 7. And Kevin Williamson says no. So, because Gale wasn't in Act 1 for either Scream 5 and 6, which was disappointing, especially for Scream 6. There's no reason that she shouldn't have been in Act 1. She's literally just an Act 2 only character in Scream 6. It's fucking embarrassing, and I really despise Radio Silence for doing that to her and to the fans. Not even to her, but just to the fans who love and cherish this character, leaving her in Scream 5 the way that they did, and here we are in Scream 6, and they wait till minute 40 to bring her out. We get like a quick, horrible scene with her outside of the police station. Then basically the shrine, and then her scene, she's dying on the floor of her apartment, and then we never see her again. Oh my God, she survives off screen. So embarrassing. But I would like to see Gale Weathers in Act 1. I think it would be nice for her to call Sydney and just say, oh my God, did you see the Mocker house burn down? I don't think that's going to happen. I think she's going to show up at Sydney's house with the twins, and that's the first time that we're going to see her. Praying to the movie gods, that there's just like literally a 30-second scene of them on the phone, or of Gale in her studio with the twins, or just some kind of establishment there. And just on Gale, like I really want Gale to feel complete in the way that she did in Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. I'll give it to 5, but I think a little bit more screen time than 5. So basically how her screen times have worked. It was like Scream 1, she had 14 minutes. She has 22 in Scream 2. Scream 3, she had 28. Scream 4, she had 16. And 5 and 6, she had 11, 12. If we get 11 or 12 again, I'll be fucking pissed. But I think if it's somewhere between Scream 1 and Scream 4, I'll be happy. If it's 14, 15, or 16, thrilled. Thumbs up, great. Because in Scream 1, I mean, in both of those movies, she's the third highest person with those screen times, with 14 and 16. So just give her that. Give her that, please, and thank you. It should be Sydney, Tatum, Gale. Nothing else is acceptable. Okay. I've talked about this on other recordings, but I really want Sydney to have her highest screen time in Scream 7, and I want her to have the most screen time of any character. So basically, the two highest screen times so far are Sydney in Scream 1. She has like 43, 44, and then Melissa Barrera has like 45, I think, in Scream 6. I want this to top it. I want this to be the ultimate character, the most present character of any Scream movie is Sydney in Scream 7. So one thing I really want, oh my God, we don't talk about this, but this is also an episode I'm going to be doing this summer. I'm going to do it like the week of my birthday, because I have the perfect Taylor Swift song to go with this. And it's also a birthday episode. It's one of my favorite songs, so I have to do that. Okay, but this is something Scream fans will really get. It's Sydney's moment of realization. Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4 all featured a moment where Sydney realizes, shit, this is happening again. Maybe not Scream 1, but I guess Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4. So Scream 2's moment is after Derek's arm gets cut up at the sorority house and Sydney's been chased, and Dewey goes to help, and there's that long shot that goes into her with Sydney's lament playing, and she just looks, there's tears in her eyes. We just know it's communicated so thoroughly to us, like, this is happening again. In Scream 3, there are several, right? But I think the big one is like whenever she sees that Cotton has been murdered and she drops the dog food mood, and she's watching the news, and just the tears in her eyes and the way that it's flickering and the way that she's shaking. And then in Scream 4, it's the part where she's watching Olivia get killed with Kirby and Jill in Jill's bedroom, and it goes from the shot of the three of them to just Sydney. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then, like, the score kind of rises, and before she rushes out of the house, it just goes straight to her. It's just maybe a 3-second thing, but I need a Sydney moment of realization that this is happening again. That is like things like this, things like, the moment of realization, going to Sydney directly after the opening scene, the epilogue. Like, these are things that Wes Craven sewed so much into the DNA of the original trilogy and 4. And I think to really have a classic modern Scream movie that feels just like those, you need these things, these little things that just mean the world to people like me. So, okay, next is I really, 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 really want Gale to have the AI moment with Dewey. There could be, some people have suggested that maybe it's just Sydney who hears and sees Dewey as AI, or however David Arquette is featured. I, however, would like to see Gale interact with David Arquette in that moment. I think that, like, I think Courtney Cox and Gale Weathers deserve to come face to face with the AI Dewey. I think to rob her of that would be like robbing Sydney in Scream 5, where Gale is the only one who gets to react to Dewey's death. Sydney doesn't get a reaction. Sydney doesn't get to mourn Dewey. It's all about Gale. We don't see Sydney react to Dewey's death. We don't see Sydney learn about Dewey's death. And I feel like to give Sydney Dewey's moment, and it doesn't go to Gale, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're not recognizing that both of these women need to have that moment. So, okay, so next, I would like to talk about the range of emotions that pertain to Gale Weathers. In terms of like what really makes a full and complete Gale, I think, is having the drama, having the comedy, and having the mystery, having her do the investigation. But like, I want to see that fully formed Gale Weathers again. That's what I think is good. She's just not there in Scream 6, not even Scream 5. It's all drama and really no mystery even. It's just all drama, which I love. It's great. But like, the Gale Weathers of Scream 2, 3, and 4, and 1, it's all, there's a mix, and she's really well rounded. So I think that's important. Okay. And speaking of, I know I just said I want like all of those things for Gale. I want pure drama to sell this movie. I want there to be the narrative so wrapped up in the drama of the story of Sydney's life and her relationships, her relationship, Tatum, Mark, Gale, and Anna Camp, her friend, whomever else in the movie, right? I think that those conversations and that emotional backbone are what needs to drive this movie. This is not going to be the core four playing beach volleyball in New York City. Oh my God, we're on the subway. Oh my God, now we're in the apartment. Oh my God, we're on the ladder. Oh my God, shut the fuck up. Like, no, like that's not a movie. It's like a music video. I want the Halloween H2O effect of Scream here with Sidney Prescott and her relationships, like it did in Scream 1, like Sydney's storyline in Scream 3, like Scream 2. Like, that's what we need, I think. Okay, so I would like to see some kind of Maureen Prescott connection here. Not connection to the motive, but connection to like Sydney herself. I want Sydney to be reminded of Maureen. You don't have to harp on her, because we've spent so much of the franchise harping on Maureen, right? And talking about her and thinking about her and her past. But I do want Sydney to have a moment where you feel the depth of what it means for her, that, her mother's past defined her so much, and now she is the mother to a daughter, right? And I would love a name drop of Maureen Prescott. Name drop Roman and Maureen, brother and mother, please. Okay, so back to Gale. So we know that Mark Consuelos plays this guy named Robbie. He's a journalist, kind of feuding with Gale. I want this feud to kind of be fully developed. I don't want it to just be one scene like Rebecca. A flaw of Scream 4 is that they could have had more scenes together, because they would have been fun. But I would love to see Robbie almost be more like Debbie Salt than Rebecca in terms of having a constant presence throughout the film once Gale enters it. He has to have at least 2 or 3 scenes. I think that would be, not just one scene cameo. So, okay, this next one's kind of silly, but just go with me here. When it pertains to the cast credits, like, I get what Radio Silence was trying to do. What they thought they were on the right track in terms of like the shots of the cast that they picked for 5 and 6. However, I say they did not do a good job. They missed the mark. They were focusing too much on the overly smiley moments of these characters, as opposed to finding moments that just capture the essence. And they can be smiley, but they don't have to be over the top, like goofy, like, oh, smiling. I hated that. Like, every single one in 5 and 6, it was just obnoxious. They did better in 5, I think, than 6, particularly with the trio. The trio was really, really well done. But like, I hope that Kevin finds the art of just finding a great shot of the character. They may be smiling, they may be serious, whatever. I think that they need to capture that again. Like, you don't need to go over the top with the goofy smiles. Like, this isn't Jack Quaid anymore. This is serious, okay? Okay, let me see. So that's basically the items on my wish list that aren't in the next segment with me and Ash. I would like to go through and start to name drop some of the amazing wish lists that were left on my social media. Okay, we're going to start with Instagram because Instagram is the best. So Ash's ghosting says, action-packed with multiple great chase scenes throughout. Final girl Courtney, we love you. Amber, friend. Lots of Gale Weathers. So JC's Auto says flashbacks of the original but with new scenes. Sarah Campbell, love you. She says flashback scenes with the returning cast and not just AI voices. I would love that. I would love to see a trio scene of them all in the same scene together, the same frame. You can give Gale the bangs again. I think that would be great. Lake Woodsboro says Sydney, more ass kickery like 2 and 3, no cliffhanger, surprising cameo. Maduro Diaz 191 says Sydney's other 2 children. Yes, I want to see them too. That's on my wish list. Sydney and Gale to have more screen time. Good chases. Sydney being referenced again as the angel of death. I like that. Gale surviving. Gale also being protective of Tatum. Sydney questioning Mark. I like that. Okay. Obi78 says that more gorgeous and cinematic views in this film, so better cinematography. I like that. And Sydney has a fully realized character again, as opposed to being a prop of the story. Yes, I agree. Okay, so Joanna, she is a patron. She's been on the show. 100%. Love you. Okay, let's read hers. She has 10. Whew. Okay. So meta commentary needs to be tied to Sydney. Meaningful arcs for Sydney, Gale, and Tatum. They need to feel like real people. New people need to have distinct voices and have believable dynamics. Looking at you, Scream 5. All right, callbacks to reinforce themes rather than just fan service. Looking at you, Scream 6 Shrine. Agreed. Oh my God, I was listening to a podcast this morning. What was I listening to? And it said something, they were talking about Easter eggs. Oh my gosh. So there's this Taylor Swift podcast I listened to. They were talking about the Easter eggs that Taylor Swift does. And like the person who was running it, she's this really accomplished businesswoman. I love her. She said that Easter eggs should be in the background and you don't notice them unless you're looking for them. They shouldn't be driving the story. I'm like, fuck yes, you get it. Okay. Next up, classic chase scenes, not constant fake outs. Cross-generational team ups. I like that. Story rooted in theme. The cost of legacy now affecting Tatum. Please stop forcing comedy. Comedy is good when natural. Ask a comedian. A good soundtrack. And for the love of God, let stabbings have consequences. Yes. Blake Canton says actual deaths. Alex says that the killer is going to reveal himself and then say, who'd you expect to see? Stu Mocker, our friend Tarek. He is a Gale Weathers aficionado. He says, I don't want much, but good writing, good mystery, stakes, lethal stabs, original motive, new commentary on the genre, and respect and utilize the legacy characters. In a nutshell, don't pull a Scream 6. I'm not the only one that hates Scream 6. People like you try to say, oh my God, Ryan, you're so mean to Scream 6. I am not. Scream 6 sucks, and most of the fans know it. I'm sorry that you are a basic bitch who liked it opening weekend, and it was such a roller coaster ride. Get over it. It's not a good movie. Okay. Oh, my lovely Michelle Visage. Okay. Marka Rib says, a good chase scene, a solid killer, Gale not to die, legacy characters, more than limited screen time, Stu not to be alive, Sydney to be prominent, the use of Lillard, Foley, and Arquette to be unique and not wasteful, Chad and Mindy to survive. Okay, that's interesting. You know, their first shot up. Please don't give us 3 killers, 2 max. I agree. I would even love a single killer. Imagine Anna Cam is the only killer. That'd be amazing. And leave it open for Scream 8 and 9. Fuck yes. Okay. Bria Patterson, let's do it. Flashbacks with returning cast, Dewey, Roman, Stu. Scene where Sydney and Gale talk about Dewey. Fuck yes, I want that. Gale becoming close with Sydney's family. Good chases. A good mystery if Stu is alive or dead. Good character arc with Tatum. The twins having an important role. Mindy's commentary needs to be more natural. I would argue that the commentary should just be gone. Great killer reveal. Motive we haven't seen before. Okay, so C. Fletch, who I love this guy. He's not in the Patreon, but he comments on all my stuff, and he's very attentive, and he's a Swiftie. Love this. Okay. So, okay. Anyways, I listened to your episode about the marketing. We should not be worried at all. Blah, 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 blah. Now he just sends love. So C. Fletch, we love you. Okay. Cute Gay in Akron says, I need lots of chases. Scream for life. This is my friend Neil. He's a new Patreon. A great Sydney arc. A lot of screen time with Stu. Interesting. Ethan Embry as one of the ghost faces. That would be a twist. He would be like a Nancy Loomis because I think his part's small. One of the twins to die. Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be woven into the film like Halloween was of the original. Fuck, that's interesting because apparently Texas Chainsaw Massacre is playing in the town of Pine Grove at the local theater. That's cool. And an underlying theme about retcons. Interesting. So Chris Nicholas says Gale as the mastermind killer. Brenton Mode 13 says more real scenery like the first 3, longer moments with Sydney Sydney and Ghostface than 5. Gale must be crucial to the plot and in Act 3. Fuck yes. Okay, C. Fletch is back. He says, don't reveal all the killers in 7. Have a surprise twist to be revealed in the next movie. And I would argue maybe even the movie after that. Who knows? Let's see. Marco Kane says, a proper character arc for Sydney and Gale. Stu to be dead. No sassy, wink, self-referential jokes. If Sydney and Gale die, it should be because it's what best for the story. For shock value alone, I agree. So Cam G says, an opening that sets the standard on what we're getting ready for. Effective chase scenes, a final act that's just as strong, and the killers that we actually give a damn about. Make it count. Fuck yes. Yes, Cam. Okay. So Alex Beebe says that a Ghostface killer who is relentless. So Kid in Closet says Emma Roberts, please. Caitlin Ann says wish we had Kirby back. BK Haunts says the return of Stu Mocker. DeAndre, we need the cinematography to be fixed. Chase scenes, brutality, iconic opening, and the feel of a modern classic Scream movie. Finally, someone agrees with me. Eden Grin B 2021 says Anna Camp to be Ghostface. I don't care if it's obvious. I need her to be one, and I agree with you. I don't care that it's obvious. Just let her be Ghostface. So that was Instagram. Let's go over now to Facebook. I'm not going to read all of these. I can't. There's just too many. So Derek Tenney says a story that's well written, has high stakes, and as far as killing off important characters, and a great reveal. Derek Everhart says that I really wish to have a blend of tension of the original trilogy and the brutality of kills of the newer movies. So that's an interesting thing, taking the great writing and the tension of the original trilogy, but the brutality of the new movies. That's actually a good take. I like that. He says, I hope there are legit stakes for our main characters, that there's emotional weight. And he says he wants a cliffhanger. I don't. Sorry. Dustin Putman says, I want to see Sydney working at her coffee shop, seeing how she manages and interacts with her employees and customers. Also scenes of her home life with Mark and the kids before she learns that Ghostface is back. Philip Douglas, P-Dougie-05, or as RuPaul would say, P-Dougie-05. I'm just sorry. Okay. Philip says, suspense, a great mystery, good soundtrack, and bringing back emotional storytelling. Fuck yes. So Ryan O'Maris, I'm hoping for a very tense, scary ride. I want Sydney and Gale to survive. I like that. Martin Canary says Kirby to make a cameo and then lead into a spinoff of her own. I've said that for years. Vic Pardo says McKenna Grace not to be killed in the first few minutes, a la Drew Barrymore. So, here's one that I think actually there's bullet points here. I'm just going to run through this. She says Stu being dead, but that's not really the consensus, I think. But at least everyone keeps saying over and over, a good story, epic and dramatic, great kills and good imagery, and Sydney and Gale. That's what we need, Kevin. Kevin, that is your assignment. Did you do your job? Okay. A great and long chase scene. We haven't had one in a while. Honorable mention to Gale in Scream 6, but yeah, I like that a lot. Okay. Because it's true. It's true. We haven't had the Helen Shivers chase scene in a long time. We haven't probably had it since Scream 3 with Sydney in the Stab 3 set, So we'll see. Suki says Stu to be alive, for Gale having a call from Dewey and losing it during her show. Honestly, that would be my preference. We've seen that Gale and Sydney are on the show together that whenever she's being interviewed. I would love to see Dewey call them, and we see David Arquette with both Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox, and the reaction to that, I feel like that would be so emotional. That's what I would want. Not revenge focus motive. I agree. Don't just make it Leslie. I like that. So Christy Hayes says a Randy cameo, a flashback of Roman meeting Stu and Billy. I know, and a flashback of Maureen's death. We all want this. It's probably not going to happen here, but Kevin, please listen to us for Scream 8 or 9. Okay, so Wilson Cleveland says a great chase, Roman going after Sydney's mom's guilt, aka I assume what he means is if Roman AI comes to Sydney, that he kind of picks at her scab of being a mom. Mark's never seen a stab movie, doesn't want to see Sydney afraid. I would love that. Will said yes. Robert Anthony Yeadon, who used to do the gifts for this podcast, he says, all I want for Scream 7 is it for it to be a great Scream film that captures the soul and essence of Wes Craven's original trilogy. Love it. And the greatest story for Sydney since it is the anniversary of 30 years of Scream. I agree. Isabel May fan base. A shocking plot twist and a killer reveal that sticks with us. Christopher says chase scenes, chase scenes, chase scenes, chase scenes, chase scenes. Oh yeah, and more chase scenes. Club Campbell says, I love Club Campbell. They post the greatest clips of Neve. Thanks for being up to date. I retweet you all the time. Any genuinely suspenseful sequences. I want sweet moments with Sydney and the fam to see her happy before we get invested and put through the ringer again. Yes, I love it. Neve to bring the emotions, of course. Lionel Joseph says that they want to go back to the tone of the original film. No more silly bullshit. Okay. Mark Baker says that he would really like Mark to survive. Let's see. The Lone Ranger, he wants no survivors, save for Sidney, Gale, and Tatum. I would like that. I'm sorry. Can you imagine just killing every member of the cast except for the three of them? That would be great. A motive someone would actually kill for. A killer that's either not caught, killed early, or all of the Scream TV series is revealed, but the audience isn't aware that there's going to be a second one. Okay. Brian Morrissey says enough time and character development to reintroduce Sidney to the audience. Epic chase scene for Gale. Husband Mark is not actually Tatum's father. Mark and Kate is. Interesting. So Femme for Toxic Mask says undeniable sinking feeling that we're losing Gale. I'm preparing for the worst. I'm trying to accept it early. For Cotton Weary and Jamie Lee Curtis to both have a cameo. For Awesome Theory says a darker story with more emotional stakes for our leads. Andy says longer chase scenes. Derek Tenney says a story. I've already got him. Noah Weber says an emotional interaction of some sorts between Sidney and the twins about Randy. Love it. Yes. Billy Moore says Sidney unmasking a ghost face early. Stu revealed as not alive and more character development. Let's see. So Michael says the AI not being a heavy plot point in the motive. Okay, I like that. Julio says, the only thing I'm asking for is them to close the threads of the last movie properly. So I'm going to just comment on this. Like, I don't think that Sam and Tara should be mentioned at all. Like, again, there's a huge difference between them and Sidney. Mentioning Sidney in Scream 6, I think, was relevant. Sam and Tara here, I don't really care. Chad and Mindy have obviously moved on without them. I think we all should too. Okay, before we transition fully over to the next segment with me and Ashley, I need to go through some pieces of news. So with the release of Wuthering Heights last weekend, there was a new TV spot trailer. I don't know what you can call it. It's a shorter trailer. I didn't want to go over it. I actually haven't even posted it on my Instagram because in my opinion, like, I'm not somebody who is trying to spoil the movie for people. And I guess if it's a trailer, it doesn't count as a spoiler. But here's the caveat, okay? It hasn't been released online as of yet, as of this recording. And it's very revealing. Like, there are a couple of things. Like, there's a shot of Matthew Lillard in it. There is a shot of Ghostface and Tatum at the very end. It's a very like quick, flashy thing, and it's something that's very revealing, I think, of the finale. And I just want to kind of stay clear of that. I will say that it looks great. You know, there is a funny moment with Sidney and Gale at the top of the trailer, where Gale is kind of being, you know, her selfish, kind of bitchy self, and Sidney's she's showing caution about that. So it's a good trailer. I was happy that we got it. I also kind of like this exclusivity. Like, you only got to see it if you went to see Wuthering Heights. You know, Taylor Swift does this sometimes with her music. Well, like, think of like the era of Midnights. She would release like certain songs in CD form that you could only buy at the Eras tour, right? So it's kind of like, it's almost like that in a way. It kind of keeps the hype going. My guess is the Wuthering Heights trailer for Scream 7. I think, if I had to make a prediction, I think that's going to be released online like this coming week, maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday. They always release like one last trailer to kind of push everybody to the theater like 2 or 3 days before the movie is out. So my guess is that will pop up here someday soon. So also this weekend, we got our first glimpses of the character posters. Now, as of this recording, we haven't seen them all, but we saw, the character posters started being displayed in the lobby of theaters in these international cinemas, which is very interesting, ahead of the schedule of them being put out online. So basically, Ghostface is on one side. It's actually a very close-up Ghostface shot, and then the character like mirroring it. So it's different, I guess, than 5 and 6, where everyone was holding the mask or holding the knife. There was almost like an implication, like, is this person the killer? Versus this time, it's almost like the Ghostface and the person on the poster, they're face to face. And it's almost giving this impression of, is Ghostface coming for them, or is this person Ghostface? So I think there's more wiggle room. I think that this is actually better. I like this better. It's a more prominent feature of Ghostface. And the mask in these posters are melting. Like, so you can see like the plastic is melting in some places, which is really interesting and cool. So 2 more things. My friends over at the Happy Horror Time podcast, they are actually going to be publishing an interview with Scott Foley, who is my favorite killer, Roman Bridger. It's going to be a really interesting interview. I mean, Scott is one of the greatest people in Hollywood as it pertains to interacting with the public. I think he's so charismatic. So I think it will be a really fun interview. So make sure you're on the lookout for that over the next couple of days. So really good stuff there. Okay, everybody. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I would like to transition to discussing the issue I addressed at the top of the show, which is that it has been confirmed that Scream 7 will not screen for film critics ahead of the release of the movie. So typically how these things go is, depending on the movie, like whether it's like, an A24 drama or whether it's kind of a blockbuster, most of the times critics get to screen the movies well in advance, whether it's, a month, 2 weeks, whatever. It's part of gaining the hype for the movie. Oftentimes like the studios will let critics post like a social media review. They have a social media embargo, and then they have a full review embargo. And most of the time, like the full review embargo, I don't know, for big blockbusters, it's usually like the night before. And the social media, it depends. But regardless, so that's not happening with Scream 7. Scream 7 will not be released for critics well in advance. So it sounds to me like Scream 7 is going to be screened for critics the night before, which is Wednesday, or Thursday. It's a very interesting choice. And I have some very deep feelings about it since we found out the news. And Nev Campbell herself confirmed it recently in an interview. She said that they're not letting anyone see Scream 7 before the public does. So, and there are many layers to my feelings here. So as everybody knows who listens to this podcast, I come from the world of film criticism and the Oscar world. I worked in Oscar punditry for many years just as a fun side gig. It's how I kind of started this podcast, is because I knew how to do this podcast because I had the practice of doing podcasts and writing for years about the movies and the Oscars and film. And I know a lot of people from that world. I lived in that world. I know the vibe of that world, of the people who get to go to the screenings early. And I don't mean to sound like a snob, but these aren't people like Roger Ebert. These aren't just the film critics who would be seen as more prestigious. These are the people who have their own personal blog, who somehow get their reviews counted towards Rotten Tomatoes. Film criticism evolved over the decade from 2010 to 2020, let's just say, from a more sophisticated thing to something of a Yelp review, and it's frustrating. But, the people who are film critics, they are all kind of from the same cohort. They're very, very online people, or at least film critics in the new age sense. I'm not talking about the film critics of Roger Ebert's time, where Roger Ebert, he was a great film critic, but he also had his problems. I mean, he was very unkind to the horror genre, but there was a level of academic sophistication that he had that the film critics of today just don't have. The film critics, I'm going to quote, of today, who unfortunately do get their reviews counted in Rotten Tomatoes, they are very ideologically driven. They're very online and they're very activist based. So I want to describe why I think it's a good idea that these people don't get to see the film early, but also don't get to influence the public with social media reviews or whatever early, because I think that there's going to be a lot of bad faith attempts by film critics, or those types of film critics, the online blogger film critics, to try to hurt Scream 7. So I'm just going to be frank, okay? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I am a Scream person. I'm a slasher person. I'm a horror person. But the blogger types that I'm discussing here, they don't give a shit about the Scream franchise. They really don't. I mean, some of them may, but by and large, they don't. They care about their niche, weird, indie, art house movies that no one sees except them, but then somehow they win all the Oscars, right? That's what they care about. And some of them may care about a blockbuster here and there, but largely they don't care about something like Scream. I have been very fearful that there are going to be a lot of rogue people in the film critic space who take the opportunity to review Scream 7, not as a film, not give it a fair chance, not actually look at the story and look at the craft of what Kevin Williamson assembled here. They are going to take the movie and use it as a platform to unfold their ideological point of view about what happened to Melissa Barrera. More simply put, I'm afraid that there are going to be rogue film critics out there who, if their quote platform is reviewing movies, or that they get to have their words published and counted toward the Rotten Tomatoes score of a film, that is their platform and that they need to use their platform for quote activism. And their activism entails giving Scream 7 a bad review as their way of supporting Melissa Barrera for being fired, or supporting the issue of Israel and Palestine. And if they hurt Scream 7, that they are carrying out activism for those issues, those political partisan issues, which is, I know this sounds like I'm a crazy person. It sounds completely insane. And maybe it won't happen. I'm praying that it won't happen. I'm trying to think maybe cooler heads will prevail. Maybe film critics will portray themselves with integrity. I'm not so certain. I know these people, they are fucking nuts. Okay. There's a reason why I'm not involved in the Oscar world. It's not a fun place to be. It's very petty. It's very political. It's very mean girlish. It's very high school cafeteria but it's also very ideologically driven. Everything with them has to pass some sort of like partisan sniff test. It's hard for me to imagine, all these people that I used to know giving Scream 7 a fair shot, especially because most of them just aren't going to give a shit about it. It would be more important for them to give Scream 7 a bad review so that they can have that virtue signal to the world of that they stood up for Melissa Barrera and they stood up by being mean to Scream 7. If they can knock down the Rotten Tomatoes score, that is their activism for the justice of whatever their, political point of view is, which again is an insane thing to do. And this is frustrating. And honestly, I have no tolerance for this. I have we should not be talking about Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega or Christopher Landon at all here. They had nothing to do with this movie. This movie was made by Kevin Williamson and Nev Campbell, and we need to respect the art that it is. It's not necessarily about the behind-the-scenes drama. We should look at the movie that we're getting. Film critics out there should be reviewing the movie that they're seeing rather than focusing on behind-the-scenes drama that allows them to stand on a soapbox and virtue signal. So I think that, not every person is going to be so ideological in that world, but here's the deal. I literally know one or two people who told me that they did this, okay? The Scream 7 trailer drops in October, and there are people out there who, even if they don't feel so compelled on an ideological point of view to try to shame Scream 7 and try to hurt Scream 7 by putting bad messages on Twitter about it, there are people out there who said that they did it anyways by just saying, oh, I just thought it looked bad. Didn't go into it, didn't go into the Melissa of it all, but just said, it just looks bad. And they did this because they don't want people in their mentions, people in the comments, their followers, their audience to yell and scream at them. Because how dare you say that Scream 7 looks good? Didn't you know what happened to Melissa Barrera? She spoke up about Palestine. Blah, 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 blah. The speech of people is chilled. And they have to put on this performative activism where they don't really believe it. They're just doing it because they're afraid of getting, quote, canceled or getting yelled at and screamed at in the comments. So, I guess it just speaks to everyone's overall lack of integrity as it pertains to this issue here. So, but the goal of these people, it will be to hurt the Scream 7 Rotten Tomatoes score. I have no doubt that Kevin Williamson made a great movie. I really just don't see a world where Scream 7 isn't a quality movie, even if it's just a great script, and good acting. There's no reason that this movie should have a lower Rotten Tomatoes score than Scream 5 and 6. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. It depends on how many people actually participate in this performative type of activism. Let's just say there's 100 critics, right? It could be 10 people who do this, or it could be 40. I think if it's 40, I think Scream 7's Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and whatever, those scores may appear lower, but if it's just 10, I think we should count ourselves lucky. I really hope this doesn't happen, but I think that this whole thing is the reason why Paramount made the decision not to screen the movie for critics. So it's twofold, right? One, I think Paramount is genuinely trying to keep the spoilers under wraps, not only the identity of the killer, but also the plot about Matthew Lillard and Stu. How disappointing would it be if some loser film critic with 500 followers goes on Twitter and says, oh yeah, Matthew Lillard, he's alive, Stu's alive, or vice versa. Oh, Matthew Lillard, he's just AI. They're using him as a marketing stunt to cover up for Melissa Barrera, blah, blah, blah. That's what they're trying to avoid. They want this to be about the audience. And clearly the film critics here are not on the same page as the audience. And also, if the film critics are going to be more revealing about the spoilers or intentionally give the movie a bad review because of Melissa Barrera or trying to virtue signal or look like super progressive or super whatever to their followers and cater to those extreme voices and people who aren't really there for the movie, they're there for the politics. Why should they get to see the movie 2 weeks early? That's the thing that I kind of go back to, because over the weekend there was one or two people on Instagram, film critics, quote, because I don't respect these people. I'm sorry. There was this YouTube guy who was complaining that he isn't getting to see Scream 7 early. He wrote this big, long, whiny post about Paramount shouldn't be concerned about spoilers, that they screened 5 and 6 early and that there weren't spoilers. First of all, there absolutely were. Literally, there was video footage of the Bailey's killer reveal released online a week before Scream 6 hit theaters. We saw Dermot revealed as the killer. We saw Jack Champion revealed as the killer. That literally happened. So for that reason alone, Paramount has every single right to say no one sees this movie until the general public gets to see it on Thursday night. There's no arguing with that. That literally happened. That is the worst case scenario. Paramount has every right to do so. let alone when you have a situation like this where, film critics and people on Twitter and like this hyper political partisan feeling in the air because of the state of, choices that were made, years ago, and this fear of performative activism. Like, I actually think that it's a really good decision. I'm glad that critics aren't getting to see the movie early. Now, it could make them grumpy. They're like that guy on Instagram. He was whining and complaining. Oh man, I'm just not going to see Scream 7 at all now. And just think about this. Think about the entitlement of this. The film critics are upset the studio isn't giving special privileges to the film critics to see the movie 2 weeks early for free for them to write a bad review and make it about Melissa and Palestine, as opposed to just fucking judging the movie that you're seeing, right? Think about the entitlement. Think about how immature that sounds. Like, here's the deal. The only thing I care about is whether the Rotten Tomatoes score influences people to see the movie or to not see the movie. And that's the fear, right? That's my fear, is that film critics, quote, or AKA bloggers or AKA YouTubers, who feel as though using rage bait or outrage to get people to click and watch their review, or if they're just very ideologically driven that they want to hurt the Scream 7 movie because of Melissa, or if they think that her putting out a bad review of Scream 7 will be good for them, where their audience will cheer them on. Like, that's really bad faith. I'm sorry. Like, that's in such bad faith. And I think that, like, it's such a big risk because of the way that the internet works and just how aggressive and awful the Melissa people have been. And so I think in general, and like the movement behind Melissa on Twitter, how dangerous, how violent, how spiteful it's been. I completely agree with Paramount's decision. I'm sorry. Like, you know what? You don't get to see Scream 7 early for free to give it a bad review, to carry out your political agenda, or to look cool to your followers, or to get extra likes and retweets. Like, fuck you. You get to see it with everybody else, back of the line, and get your wallet out, bitch. So, well, so again, I just want to say, please, everybody, don't worry about this. Like, I actually struggled whether I should even bring this up on the podcast, because like, it's something that has been killing me, is thinking about this and how unfair it would be. It would be so shitty for people to do that, to give Scream 7 a bad review, or to spend half the review talking about the Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega and Christopher Landon and blah, 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 blah. Like, as opposed to just fucking reviewing the movie that we have, I don't want that. It would be so shitty. And it's unfair that this group of people has this power to do that. There's nothing we can do. We just have to let the cards fall where they fall. And we have to trust the audiences won't give a shit if, unethical film critics choose to do this. And again, this may not even happen. It may be me putting it out into the world. Like, let's hope and let's trust that if these film critics out there worked hard enough and were given the privilege of having their reviews counted towards something like the Rotten Tomatoes score, that they would comport themselves with integrity, and they wouldn't just resort to their own personal political point of view or their own personal activism, or a cynical rage bait type of review just to appease their followers or to get attention. I hope that's not the case. But there's also people like other content creators out there who kind of do the same thing, who kind of like, they're trying to set Scream 7 up for failure. Every time Scream 7 achieves a success, like, the pre-sales or a new trailer or, the Super Bowl ad or the number of views, there are bad faith content creators who are pretending to be neutral, who then move the goalpost back a little bit, and say, oh, well, it needs to do this if it really is successful. It needs to do this. Like, if it doesn't make this, then it's not better than 5 and 6. So, and I just feel like, here's the other thing too, like, if you're out there online, please beware of this. Like, I know I don't mean to sound like, again, I sound like a crazy person probably, but like, if there are content creators out there who are pretending to be so reasonable and neutral, yet somehow they always come out framing Scream 7 in a negative way, and somehow also reminding everybody, oh, 5 and 6, oh, the Carpenter sisters, oh, Sam and Tara, like, this movie has something to do with Sam and Tara. Like, leave them alone. Leave them out of this. Like, Jesus, like, you're not neutral if you're doing that. Like, I believe that everyone out there is smart enough to figure this out and to know that these people are operating in bad faith. And it just sucks that we have to deal with this. We can't just watch a fucking movie. Film critics can't just go and review a fucking movie. We deserve better than this. Wes Craven deserves better than this. And like, also, here's the thing. Let's just go back to the film critic thing. For Neve Campbell and Kevin Williamson, who rescued this franchise, for Neve Campbell, who finally gets this moment, she's an actress in her 50s, getting to be the lead star of a movie where it's about, her agency as a woman. And Kevin Williamson, who gets to finally reclaim authorship of this franchise in the most like auteur way. He gets to be both the writer and the director. something that probably he never thought would be possible. This is their opportunity to make a wonderful movie. And instead of being fair about it, the film critics may punish them. Their efforts doesn't matter. It would be all of the film critics' political point of view or their finger snaps online or what they want to look like online. And that's unfortunate. So please pray that this doesn't happen. And if it does happen, we have to not worry about it. We have to say, fuck you. I love this movie. The movie is actually great and you're unethical for doing this. So, but I think that regardless, Paramount is correct for not letting them see the movie. And please enjoy the rest of the episode with me and Ashley going through some more wish list items and talking about the song of Taylor Swift. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scream with Ryan C. Showers. I'm your host, Ryan C. Showers. Thank you for joining me. Oh my God, guys, we are so close to Scream 7. I can taste it. So one fun episode topic that I thought would be cool is to do a wish list episode. We are going to go through my wish list and the wish list of my fearless producer, Ashley. Hey, Ashley.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, everybody. I'm excited to talk about our wish list.
Well, boss up, settle down, got a wish list. I just want you.
I just want you.
Same. Oh my gosh. So, Ashley, we are going to talk about Scream first, and then we're going to do the song of the week, of course. But this song, so we did a bunch of Life of a Showgirl songs towards the holiday season last year, and they were so fun. I was so thrilled with our work there on those episodes, and I was sad. I was like, oh no, I wish we could do all the Life of a Showgirl songs. And today we are doing a Life of a Showgirl song. So, Ashley, fittingly, what is the Taylor Swift song of the day to accompany this fabulous topic?
The Taylor Swift song of the day is Wish List. This song is track 8 off of Life of a Showgirl. It's written and produced by Taylor Swift, Max Martin, and Shellback, as all of the Life of the Showgirl tracks are. And to me, if I was going to give like a little synopsis of what this is, it's Taylor kind of expressing how she feels like she got something off of her wish list with finding the love of her life, and also expressing that she hopes that everybody else gets their wish list, which in turn will make her life better because maybe they'll leave her the fuck alone.
That's a great synopsis, and I can't wait to dive more into the song after we go through some Scream 7 talk, because I know this is one of your favorite songs from The Life of a Showgirl. And spoiler alert, it is Taylor Swift's favorite song, Life of a Showgirl, which
I don't think I knew it was her favorite. Yeah, I really liked this song. The first time I listened to it, I was just kind of like, oh, that's cute. But as I got into it, like I found myself singing it a lot. And I honestly think it's one of the most romantic songs or like the most like lovey-dovey song she's ever written.
Yeah.
It's just not a romantic ballad sounding this love or wild a stream sounding. It's got a beat of its own and a little bit different, like more like you could play this on like a bunch of different radio stations versus just like a pop station, I feel like. But yeah, I love it. I feel like it's a really cute way of expressing your love for somebody.
Well, we are going to go into it more later on, but as the best transition I could possibly give, at one point Taylor says she goes through and lists like of things that people want, like kind of like cream of the crop, the highest of the highs that you could want from life. She says they want that complex female character. So with that, I'm going to co-sign that and apply that to Scream 7. That is on my wish list. Thank you, Taylor Swift. So Ash, what is on your Scream 7 wish list?
My number one is I want it to feel like Scream. I don't want it to feel, I would say the thing that I didn't really love the most about 5 and 6, mostly 6, is that it didn't really feel like a Scream movie to me. Like if Scream 6 wasn't Scream and it was just a movie on its own with fresh characters, I would have liked that movie. But it just didn't have that essence of Scream to me. I want this to feel like Scream 1, 2, and 3. And I want to be scared. Like I want to be nervous. I want there to be stakes. I want I want the mystery to be, I want to be wondering who it is throughout the entire movie. I want it, like, even if like, I want to be like, how many ghost faces are there? Like, what's going on? Like, I want to be surprised at the end and I want it to be fun. Like, I just want to go into that theater, be munching on my popcorn and feel nostalgic about watching a new Scream movie and not being like disappointed at the end, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm going to dovetail on this because that's part of what mine is too. So, like on my wish list, I have for Scream 7 to feel like an epic story rather than content to burn through. So it's not exactly the same as yours, but I completely co-sign yours. But it's this kind of feeling that like the Wes Craven films of Scream felt so epic and wide ranging and like had such a feeling of exhilaration and exhaustion to them. And I hope that that's what we get here. And I hope that it's not just like again content to burn through. So I really like that. And I mean, I think what you said was the perfect jumping off point because that is what I think most everybody would want from Scream 7, even fans of 5 and 6. I think that there is an essence about the original, however you define the original, and whether it's 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3, or just one. I think people really want that. And someone said that they want a modern classic Scream movie. And I feel like that is kind of what you're saying as well.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to feel like I understand, like, who these characters are. I That's another thing I want. The newer characters, I wanna understand something about them.
Mhm.
I don't want them to be, like, so disposable. Obviously, you can't have a huge arc for every single character in a horror movie when that's going on, but I wanna be bummed out when somebody gets killed. Like, I don't wanna be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
random guy in a place, like, that sucks." I'm sad. Sad for his family that doesn't exist because he's a character that is, like, but, like, I was like, I don't know anything about when I don't know anything about them, it just doesn't feel as upsetting. Like, when you see Tatum go in Scream 1, you're upset because you love her and you admire, like, you feel connected to her, and that's the thing, I wanna feel connected to characters.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Tatum. I'm going to apply. This is going to be a challenge now. We're going to have to start like referencing Tatum Riley versus Tatum Evans because on my wish list, I also have Tatum. I want Tatum to be as good of a character as the original trio, and that's going to take years and films to accomplish. But I wanted to start here. I want her to feel like the way that we love Jennifer and Kirby as like fan favorites that aren't the trio. I want Tatum to reach that status. I want her to feel like she is truly a part of the family, and like a character that we know and deeply love and naturally love. Not a force kind of, but I want it to be real for a lot of people, and or not even a lot of people. I want it to be the consensus. Like, oh my gosh, she is so great. Isabel May is so great. This makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I want Tatum to feel like there is a part of Sydney, like, obviously, like, she is literally a part of Sydney, from what we know, but, I was like, I don't actually know their journey to having this baby, but I'm assuming that, I mean, they make it sound like that Sydney birthed this person,
Yeah.
um, but I just want her to feel like Sydney is her mom. I want her to roll her eyes at her at some point, like, I want her to feel like a teenage girl, but also I want her to have, like, a understanding even if she doesn't fully understand the depths of or, like, the stakes that are going on. But I'd also like to see, like, a little glimmer of, like, Mark going on there. Like, I'd like to see, like, I don't want her to be, like, a carbon copy of Sydney. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I want her to have those things that, like, with a daughter or a mother-daughter relationship, when it's a solid relationship, sometimes you don't even realize that you are like your mom until you're a lot older, and I wanna see those little glimmers of how they are similar and how they're different. And just that I want a really cute, and I mean cute as in, like, realistic and charming and, like, understanding and empathetic mother-daughter relationship. I wanna see, but also, like, the teenage angst of being like, "Shut the fuck up, mom." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want them to, like, bicker, but also, like, in the middle of a scene, her be like, "Mom, I don't wanna do that," and her be like, "Just fucking do it!" Like, you know what I mean? I'm excited to see Sydney with a kid and how that plays out. Like, I just wanna have her I guess I want Tatum to appear as strong as I can imagine Sydney encouraging her daughter to be.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of adults, one thing that's on my wish list is I would love to have a Scream movie where whether it's one killer, whether it's two killers or three killers that we saw, we've had a version of Scream with each of those calculations, right? I don't care how many it is. I would love to see a Scream movie that is all adults. The only movie that passes that test is Scream 3, and that kind of it's like duh because there's only one killer. I would love for whoever Ghostface or Ghostface are or is whoever's Ghostface, the identity of Ghostface is, I would love it to be all adults. If there's two or more killers, I would like it to be, you know, adult killers. I don't need more teenage killers. I think it would be kind of like ballsy to make it to have the finale be just Nev Campbell and adults. I think there would be truth in that. If this is a story about Sydney, then it makes sense for her ghost faces to be not teenagers who are obsessed with stab. You know what I mean? It would make even if they go down the realm of like it being something about Sydney's celebrity or stab. I think it would make more sense for it to be people her age that were around when Stab came out. Or if it's not about that, I want it to be something human, but also just like, I want it to be adults. I think that would be really cool. Whether we have so many adults in Scream 7. I mean, if you look on the poster, there are more adults than there are teenagers on the Scream 7 poster for the first time. And it is wild. So, Ash, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it. I think I would like there to be at least one adult
Yeah.
in it. And, like, if there is a teenager involved, maybe there was, like, some manipulation or, like, grooming going on that, caused this person to behave like that, and it would be kinda nice to see almost like Sydney feel empathy for that person in a way, because I think she does, and then Gail would be like, "Oh my god, Sydney, no. Don't feel bad for that little bitch." But I just feel like it would be really fun if it was mostly adults, and honestly, I'm not someone who cares too much about why the killers are doing it because, like,
Mhm.
there's never a good reason. Like, people be like, "Oh, that wasn't a good reason." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit."
Yeah.
Like, there's not a good reason to go on, like, go kill a bunch of random people who are completely I don't like to say innocent because I feel like most people are, but, like, they didn't do anything. Like, it's not like we're, but I mean, like, honestly, and I think sometimes the reason for why they're doing it is honestly makes sense because so many crimes are committed for the dumbest stuff. Like the reason doesn't bug me, but what does bug me is like the reveal. Like I want the reveal to be fun. I want us to be on pins and needles and like even if like maybe there's if it is a duo, I'd love
Mhm.
for it to be or more than one. I kind of like the idea too, but it being like maybe we kind of have an idea who the one is, or like we're having a like, or like it's a little bit more obvious maybe. But then the other one is we're all like, wait, you know what I mean? Like
What?
there,
Yeah.
I want there to be a surprise with at least one of the reveals. I want the reveal to be really fun. And you know what? I think I want Mindy to be there.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think Mindy deserves a reveal, and then her to be like, you know what? That wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. Like be like, I wish I wasn't here.
You know what? That Kevin, if you didn't do that, and if Mindy survives, please book that into Screamate because that is hilarious and brilliant and clever, and it shows the continuity because I missed the reveal again. So there you go.
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, that's one line that I hate so much. I missed the reveal again. Who would say that to their friend?
I know,
You all almost got murdered? Well, I'm really sad that I missed the reveal.
and that's the problem with Scream. So, my God. So, Ash, what else is on your wish list?
I know this is gonna sound stupid, but, like, one of my number one things and based on the trailer, I feel like I'm gonna get it. It's Sydney not dressed like a fucking idiot. And I just, like, want like, I'm just like, why for so ma like, well, I think it's mostly Scream 4, which is funny because I love that movie. I'm like, "Why is she wearing that? Like, what the hell?" And I'm like, even if she wants to be cute and comfy, she can still be cute and comfy. And I think it's, like, a bit better in Scream 5, but I just want her to be like, I want her outfits to feel like her. I feel like Gail usually is pretty good because they put her in cute, cool, like, suits, and, like, that's fun, but I want the fashion to feel right. I think it'd be really fun to have nods to the '90s because that's what a lot of fashion is right now in the 2000s. I guess, like, I mean, the fashion is important to me, like, I love Scream fashion. Was always so inspired by so many of their outfits, and I just want it to feel original. Like, sometimes when they dress people in movies, I'm just like, "What the fuck? Like, why did you how much money are you getting for this character wear this cardigan? Like, I don't understand." Like, or I just want them to feel genuine. I'd love everybody to have, like, their own style, whatever that means.
Yeah. I think that you're absolutely on point, and I can already sense a difference in this fashion and, like, the outfits here than the past couple of movies. Like, Gale Weathers in what she's wearing, I think the fact that we see her in the red jacket and black pants, I think it was really smart to bring the pants back. Gail's always been interesting. I like that it's not just the suit, the matching, red top, red pants or blue top, blue pants. I think that to me already shows like, ooh, so there's something different going on here. They're kind of finding a different essence of Gale in a way. It reminds me of a Gale in Scream 2 in a way. I don't know. Sydney, I like her outfits. I agree with you. I hope that like they feel normal and like Sydney, but trendy, and iconic because, so many outfits, especially in that first movie, are so memorable and live in pop culture. So I think that would be a really good thing to achieve is great costumes.
Yeah, and I just feel like it really gives, like, a perspective on what that character's like, especially for the teens, having them all like, when I look back at my groups of friends, like, if I look at pictures, we all have that same kind of, like style that was popular at that time. But we're all in different outfits. Like I was always in boots, t-shirts, like leather boots, t-shirts, leather jacket, and like skinny jeans. And then my one friend
Mhm.
was always in a skirt. But I will say, please make it so that women can walk in their outfits, or if they can, acknowledge it and say, "Shit, I wish I wasn't wearing this right now." Because that's one of my biggest pet peeves of spring sick. I was just like, "No woman goes on a first date in a skirt. She cannot walk in. 1, because she's gonna be embarrassed that she looks like she can't walk, and 2, we all know that we might need to run away,
Yeah.
okay? That is just, like, embodied in our brain. I'm just like, "Why is she wearing that?" Like, when they're like, "Oh, I can't believe she went into the back alley to make sure that her date was okay." I was like, "No, I can see that making sense." But her being like, "Let me wear this thing that makes me walk like a penguin." Why? Why did they do that? She looks gorge. But, like, no, that's like a no. Or, like,
Yeah.
if they're wearing a skirt, I want them to be like, "I wish I was wearing pants." Like, you know what I mean? Like, or, like, one of the things I really liked about I Know What You Did, the new I Know What You Did last summer, was when she took off her heel. I was like, "Thank
Mhm.
you." All girls would be like, "These are gonna be click-clacking and I can't move as fast." Like, cute shoes, but, like, let me take them off to run away from this killer if I have a second.
Well, you know what? I didn't think about this until this very minute is Tatum and her outfits. So there is like allegedly there's a leather jacket she's wearing in the trailer and in the still that was released in October of Isabel May. Allegedly that is the jacket of Sydney in Scream 2. But even within that jacket, I feel like there are interesting fashion choices. So I'll be interested to see Tatum's fashion and what her personality is. Like, does she have Tatum Riley a little bit in terms of her fashion, or does that come out in her friends with Celeste O'Connor and McKenna Grace? Like, if you look at that shot of them, people love to have that shot of the three girls walking. It reminds them of Halloween, and I feel like each of them have very different fashion. So it will be interesting to see how their personalities are communicated and how much detail Kevin put into the fashion. So.
Yeah, and I feel like if your mom has a cool like, if you like your mom's fashion and you're able to, like, it would be fun seeing, like, her go through her mom's closet and, like, maybe
Mhm.
some things look familiar or familiar in a way just because it feels like Sydney. Or, like, this would be really cheesy, but can you imagine if she went through her jewelry box and like, "Mom, what are these Greek letters?"
Oh God.
But you know what I mean? Like, just, like, something where things like, I don't want it to be like, "Look at this reference," necessarily, but I like things to feel familiar in
Hmm.
movies or sets or how people dress, and I want Tatum to know some of Sydney's past. I don't think she needs to know everything, but, like, know who Dewey is, and I want her to another thing I'd like is to see, like, a scene with Gail and Tatum and, like, them, like, chatting, and maybe she's complaining about her mom or whatever it is, and, like, Gail being acknowledging all of what she's saying, but also just being like, "You have no idea, like, how
Hmm.
badass your mom is." Like, just, like, being there for both of them in that moment, if that makes sense, because, like,
Hmm.
obviously, I think it's important to acknowledge what the teenager is saying because, like, their feelings, like, matter, but I think it would also be fun for Gail to, like or, like, Isabel maybe being like, "Can you tell me a story about my mom?" Like, be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, like, what was my mom like when she was younger? Like, tell me something that isn't about the killers. Like, tell me something that isn't about Billy Loomis. Like, I wanna know the little details of my mom that she's not willing to share with me."
What you just said there kind of gave me chills about like Gail saying to her, "You have no idea what your mom has been through. You have no idea how strong your mom really is." I would love for that moment. That would be on my wish list, actually. Like, I think that there's going to be some revealing of Sydney to Tatum, layers being peeled off to her that will be part of the storyline. And I think really exhilarating for fans.
Having, like, I don't know, like, there's, like, just, like, little pieces of Scream throughout or, like, having a picture of her dad and, like, her or Maureen and her dad, like, just, like, things that people would have in their house, like, I imagine she has a picture of Dewey, like, I imagine she has Gail's book. I imagine that she, memories of people that she lost that are important to her, like a picture of her and Tatum Riley together or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, just, like, little moments that make sense or, like, a yearbook. I don't know. Something that,
Mhm.
like, we see, but it isn't, like, taken out and shown. Like, I love how there's always, like, little moments throughout or whatever people's posters are on their walls. Like, maybe someone has a Shaun of the Dead. You know what I mean? Like, referencing Scream 4 in some way. But it's not like a it's like a it's there if, like, if you know, you know, but if you don't know, you won't be confused or you won't it doesn't affect the storyline if you don't know, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, I love Easter eggs when they're subtle. I hate Easter eggs when they're like, let me throw it in your face.
Well, so you mentioned Mark, okay? This is gonna be so cheesy. I don't care, okay? Something that's really important to me as a Scream fan and as a Sydney fan is like, I think some people kind of like maybe worry of my point that I'm about to make here because like there's this idea of like, girl boss feminism. Within feminism, women are expected to not show that they want love or partnership or, marriage. And that's kind of like the irony of the song Wishlist because, some people criticize Taylor as appearing as a trad wife or whatever because of this song. But I feel like it's a very wish listy thing, wishlist the song and wishlist Scream 7 to want Sydney and Mark. I want to see their love. I want it to be genuine. I want to feel the way that Taylor sings in this song about Travis and what she wants about the have a couple kids or the basketball hoop. Like that's kind of I want to see that in Sydney and Mark. I want to see the marriage. I want to see the genuine connection. I don't want it to be cringe. I want it to be real. You know what I mean? I want to feel the depth of why Sydney chose this guy and I want him to earn it. I want to see what Sydney sees in him. I don't want Sydney to have settled for a one-dimensional loser. And I know that she wouldn't have, and that's why I'm putting this kind of pressure on Scream 7 and why it's on my wish list. I want Mark to be a good character, but I especially want the marriage to be conveyed in a way that complies with Sydney, everything we know about Sydney and Sydney's strength, but also I want him to be an equal partner to her. And I just want to see that connection.
I completely agree. I want to know Mark to an extent. Like I was like, I don't know how much we're going to be able to get to know him in this, but I want to know him, and I really want to see him make Sydney laugh. I know that
Yeah.
sounds silly, but one, Nev Campbell laughing is one of the cutest things in the entire planet. I don't care what anyone says. And also, Sydney deserves to be with somebody who can make her laugh. And I think that's why I was so excited when there was a new casting for this apparent Mark character who we didn't know who it was, who's going to be this Mark. Which version of is it going to be Kincaid or a different one? And like I just can't imagine the version of what we saw of Mark Kincaid and like her cooking lunch and dinner. I imagine it being more of like a serious, like sit down, not serious, but just like more of like a conversation. They're talking about a bunch of things and all of that can be really beautiful. But with what Sydney's gone through, I think having someone who can just like make her laugh and take life like feeling a little bit more carefree, I think is really positive, and I think Joel McHale can capture that. I also would love to see a moment with like Mark and Gail kind of like bickering, but like in a cute way, like, "Oh my God, Mark," like just like, you know what I mean? Like a little moment, but in a moment before like they say something and then they hug or like, I don't know, like it's just something where like you can tell that he can express and have that banter with Gail because she's so good at giving like little quips. And I think it
Mhm.
would be really fun if like Sydney was with somebody who could do that too, because I think she loves Gail, and I think it would be a way of being like, "Oh, look at she found her boy Gail." Like I imagine him being similar, like a mixture of I want him to be like a mixture of Dewey and Gale.
And like I feel like we're gonna get major Dewey vibes from Mark. I really do. I think like what we love about Dewey, like what in our heart, we're gonna see that. But I also just want to see what makes him unique. And again, I want to see what Sydney sees in him and why she chose him to have kids with. I mean, that's a huge thing, and I want that to be a genuine, real thing, and I want it to be a real family. And that's kind of like my whole thing about Scream 7. Like even like the feel, and one thing that's on my wish list here too is like the feeling of a small town. Like I want Pine Grove to have its unique lasting identity. I want it to feel like a complete town and not just like this gray mushy space. Like in the same way that we know Windsor College and we know Woodsboro, I want Pine Grove to be that same thing. What are your thoughts, Ash?
Yeah, I'd love for it to feel familiar, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. Like when you go into a movie and or a TV show and the place feels like you've already been there or
Yeah.
like you already know kind of what to expect. That's what I want it to feel like, where you understand where you are immediately and you understand maybe what the people are going to be like just by like the tone and obviously the setting. But I want everything just to feel, I guess, like Woodsboro, but better. Like, I guess, like, I mean, like,
Hmm.
or the complete opposite. I don't know. Like, I just imagine Sydney trying to find a place that felt really safe to her. And
Yeah.
obviously, I bet that place probably is typically safe.
But isn't it funny though, like how the song goes, Wish List. The big famous line of it is have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like you. I just want to the house with the basketball hoop. Interesting that Sydney, who is kind of like Taylor Swift in a way, she is her own celebrity. She is this, really famous survivor. She's written a book. She's very well known, and she kind of recoils into a very small town, and that's what she has. She has the house with the basketball hoop, for lack of a better phrase.
It seems like Sydney wanted that based on what we know. And to all the people who were like critics of being like, well, like they just like made her a mom. What do you mean they just made her a mom? Like being a mom is hard. Like it's not like being a mom is like the easiest job on the planet. And if that's what somebody wants for themselves, that's beautiful. Like that, I think feminism is allowing women to have the lives that they decide that they want, not based on a man's opinion. If they want to have kids, if they don't. But the thing also is to have a character where her life isn't just her husband and her children or her
Yeah.
partner and her children. It's seeing this whole perspective of a thing, like that whole idea of a complex female character. There is a part of me that finds it irksome because you'd never be like, can we have a complex man character, guys? No one has ever said that in the history of the world at a meeting. Like no one's like, guys, I think this guy needs to be a little bit more complex. I mean, they might say that about a secondary character of getting to know him more, but I'm like, I think complex female character is just making women what women are, which is
Mhm.
human beings that have full lives and not just making them like I'm pretty sure Scream will pass the Bechdel test and
Yeah.
that it won't be surrounded by just her identity is just that she is a survivor because her boyfriend tried to kill her and then her brother tried to kill her and then she married a guy and now she's got a kid. Like that's not like that is part of her story, but it's not who she is. And I can't imagine Kevin Williamson or Nev Campbell signing on to a project where Sydney wasn't fleshed out in a way where she feels like a full woman and like we understand her from all these that there's duality to her personality and her life. And she isn't just what happened to her and the babies that she had.
Isn't it funny? So, part of the wish list lore, everyone, this song was very controversial back in October when it came out, despite being what I would say is a very simple, kind of straightforward, universal message song, And what Ashley's kind of referring to here about like there's this like kind of judgment about like perhaps that Sydney, she got married and she had kids and that's who she is. She lives in a small town now instead of being this, warrior and author and survivor. Like, and I feel like the same thing is true of Taylor Swift and how people received this song, where people expected her to not want these things, or is that her wanting these things is against her feminism or makes her a quote bad feminist. We've literally heard those words, which I think is insane. But isn't it interesting that this could apply to both how people are prejudging Sidney Prescott in Scream 7 and how people harshly judged this song back in October as it relates to Taylor? Like, what does that say about people who are, I think, who have their heart in the right place in terms of looking at women in a progressive way, but still there's this weird judgment where they're kind of missing the point. They're missing the forest through the trees.
Yeah, when all of that kind of came out, I don't think I've eye rolled harder at the internet while looking at it in a long time, being like, so you want her to hate her life? Like what do you want? Like if she didn't want to get married and she didn't want to have kids, cool. But this woman has been singing about trying to find the love of her life and how love and family are so important to her
Hmm.
since she was 15 years old. Like we've
Yeah.
had this since 2006, this idea of how she really wants to find a partner and she really wants to find that love story and yeah, like I think a lot of us maybe if we don't want to like you don't have to be married and you don't have to have the conventional um 2 kids and, you don't have to have that to be happy. But if you want that, you're still allowed to be like, "Oh, I've always wanted to be a mom. I've always wanted to do this." And the funny thing about this whole trad wife thing is, guys, it's a like, it's messed up. Like, these people who are like, "Guys, we're trad wives and we do this." They're all making their own money on their TikToks. They're all doing all of this stuff. They're all telling people to do this. They're telling, like, women like, "Hey, you can just make bread. My kid wanted Oreos, so I made them from scratch. Hey, if you can do that, sweet. I love a homemade Oreo every once in a while. But not everybody can do that. And it's just so funny how people were like, Taylor, she's happy now. And she said that she wants to maybe get married and have a kid. What an idiot. she must hate women. What? And like, I think there's plenty of things to criticize a bunch of different celebrities for. I don't
Mhm.
think Taylor Swift is perfect. There's plenty of times when Taylor does something that people don't like and they message me and they're like, "What do you think about this, huh?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not Taylor Swift, right? I'm not upset about is her wanting to find the happiness that is right for her. And the happiness that is right for you is what all is to me what being feminism is about. It's allowing women or like anybody who identifies as a woman, that's
Mhm.
all women I'm talking about,
Yeah.
to feel safe and happy and to be able to do the things that they want to do and the patriarchy not affecting it. And
Yeah.
so if she wants to have kids, so be it. Like, who cares? Like, I've never saw a baby announcement and been like, let me look up to see this person's political agenda before I am happy for them. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know anything about a couple on YouTube and I see that they're having a baby and the grandpa is crying because he's so happy that
Mhm.
this couple is having a baby, I've never been like, these horrible people. I'm just like, that's great for them.
One of the things that I found so interesting about the song is I've listened to Life of a Showgirl literally with other people. I've listened just as a social experiment, with Brent, with Abby, with my mom. Everyone loves Wishlist. Normal, everyday folk. I remember Abby, she loved Opalite. She loved Wishlist. So those were her two favorites. And it's just like, think about like the Kelseys, Jason and Kylie Kelsey both said that this was one of their favorite songs on Life of a Showgirl as well. And again, I think that it's just for people who aren't in the Swiftie lore, this is such a universal message, which is like the message of Wishlist, in my opinion, is like, I don't need the material things. I just want the things that matter. And the things that matter are the human beings in my life, is the love in my life, whether that's with my husband or my kids. Like, that's what really matters. It's not the material things in life. And that is like the most basic human message that we should be taught. And Taylor put it into a song. And I'm kind of, and like, she's very savvy. She's smart. She knows what she's doing. Like to use a message like this. So she's never written a song like specifically like this before, but it just fits so well with where she is in her life right now, and to express it now, I think is a good thing. So, any thoughts?
I agree with you mostly, but I would
Okay.
say I think wish list is about wanting love the most.
Mhm.
Materialistic things don't matter, but it is fun to have them.
That's true.
'Cause
It
I think
is
it's
true.
being like, you want like that you want to be on a cool plane and you wanna do all of these things. Like, it's fun to it's okay to fantasize and
Mhm.
have these goals and be like, "Oh, I wanna be able to buy, like, whatever cool bag that I wanna buy or whatever cool piece of art that I want, or I wanna be able to play in the NBA," or whatever it is. Like, all of those things are cool. Like, you can want
Yeah.
those, but the things that probably you're gonna care about most in life are the simple things like having a basketball hoop and
Mhm.
like a person to spend time with that you feel safe and loved with, no matter like what that relationship is like. Like, you know what I mean? Just having someone to love you and to be with them. But I do think that there is like a little bit of cheekiness with wish list being like, yeah, like, the materialism doesn't matter, but it's still fun. Like, I
Well,
mean, it would be kind of silly for, like, a billionaire to be like, "Guys, the materialism doesn't matter." While, like, you know what I mean? Like, it would be so I like how she makes it a little bit, cheeky of being like I mean, it's still she's not gonna lie and say, like, it's not fun
yeah.
to have.
Or Wishlist. I feel bad for Wishlist. So there was the trad wife thing. There was the billionaire controversy. There was even like, accusations of racism. And this song is it's I love the song, and I think the way that she performs it, it and executes it is so interesting, and like which syllables she emphasizes, the emotion she brings to different parts of it. It's a complex song in its execution. In like the messaging, I think it's kind of mostly like it's a straight shooting song, and it's just like people are just like so lost their minds over this kind of like this caring, lovely message.
Yeah, I think what like, something that I've learned recently is that for a long time, when it came to consumers being interested in things, it was sex sells. Did you know that that is not one of the top reasons, like, the number one things that people target now? Or, like, that advertisers or people who are, like, creators use? The
Mhm.
number one thing that most people click on now, if
Rage.
what I read was true, is outrage. Yeah.
Mhm.
So people want to be pissed off about something because they're angry inside about something, and then they see something and it feels like you know what I mean? Like, it just, like
Mhm.
it's like an endorphin, like, it makes them feel something, and, like, I've always said, like, if you don't like Taylor Swift, I don't think you should have to. If you don't wanna listen to her music, you don't have to. If you wanna criticize her for certain things, I think that's totally fair. I think every person and every celebrity has things that they can be criticized for that are probably fair, including myself. And But sometimes I'm just like, when you call people out for things that just don't make sense, it makes it harder to take things serious when they do make sense
Yeah.
to actually be called out. Like if there actually is somebody who is using feminism in a bad way or racism or all of the terrible things that there are in the world, I feel like when we call out people when it doesn't really make sense, it doesn't hit as hard when we call people out who actually deserve to be called out. And that's something that I find really frustrating is online when you see like I've seen on Taylor Swift's post calling her this, 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 and this when it's impossible to be one of these things and then this other thing because like that just like morally are they're the complete opposite thing on they're both terrible, but they're the opposite kind of terrible. Do you know what I mean? And so I mean, I've seen that for a lot of celebrities and creators, and I just feel like people sometimes lose the plot of feeling outraged for things that like I don't like you just don't have to listen to the song. And I feel like there's a lot of songs out there that are a lot more messed up. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I could find female singers too, but a lot of male songs from I don't know, like I could probably put my hand out if there was a fishbowl with song titles of all the boy bands, could pick one out and be like, oh, here's a bunch of misogyny and talking about what women should be like. This song has men referring to us as bitches and whores. Like if you're gonna call people out, maybe call out the people that make sense and call people out for the things that it deserve to actually be called out on.
Yeah.
Like it just is it's just so I'm sorry, it's so fucking stupid.
Well, let's talk some lyrics here, and then we'll get back to Scream. So, the chorus of this and the bridge, I think, are the real big like anchors of the song. And like the chorus is so catchy through its simplicity. There's so much beauty and so much truth and so much like so many things you can grasp onto. So the chorus goes, "I just want you, have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like." You, we tell the world to leave us the fuck alone, and they do. Wow, got me dreaming about a driveway with a basketball hoop. Boss up, settle down, got a wish list. I just want you. Oh my gosh. So I love the boss up, settle down, got a wish list. I know, but like the boss up, settle down. I feel like that's something that Taylor and Travis say to each other. Like, as like I've always envisioned like them talking. Like, that's something that they do. Like, couples have their own like banter. I feel like that's part of their banter. And I can also just picture, Mark and Sydney having that same kind of boss up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I feel like Sydney could probably relate to the world of like we tell the world to leave us the fuck alone and they do. Just gonna we tell the weirdos and murderers to leave us the fuck alone and they finally leave me alone. And I really like how she just is expressing the basic things that she loves. Like when she's like, please God, bring me a best friend who I think is hot. I think of my partner as one of my closest friends, and I think he's really hot.
Well, so the bridge goes, I made wishes on all of the stars. Please, God, bring me a best friend who I think is hot. I thought I had it right once, twice, but I did not. You caught me off my guard. I hope I get what I want because I know what I want. And that line about the best friend who I think is hot, again, it's literally as basic as you can, convey the message of like, wanting to marry someone who you think is hot. And not only that, but your best friend, which also kind of connects with Gail Weathers calling Dewey her best friend, right? And thankfully, I do have a best friend who I think is hot. His name's Josh Carr, but that's beside the point. But no,
I
I
agree.
love the bridge. I think it's so pretty, and the way that she sings it. There's like this like she sings it with a different intensity, I think, than she sings other parts of the song. And I often like in my head, like I will say to like whatever I'm just like going about my day, I'm like, please God, how she says it, and the I hope I get what I want because I know what I want. These are things that kind of like live in my head, and I think that's kind of like the hallmark of an iconic song. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think the whole trad wife thing is her like it's just so funny because she's saying, I hope I get what I want
Yeah.
because I know what I want.
How much clearer could she be?
She's saying, "I want what I want, and I hope I get it." Saying like, "Fuck you, patriarchy. I hope I get what I want." It makes me so angry. But I do have a question for you because there's one
Yeah.
lyric in this song that I've kind of like thought of in different ways, and I want to know like how you think about it. When she says, "Have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like you." What do you think that means?
I've always imagined like it means like she loves her husband and or loves Travis and she wants to have kids that look like him and she wants to be able to be outside in her driveway near the basketball hoop and looks down the road and sees, three kids riding their bikes or something and every single one of them looks like Travis. And that's what I think. What about you?
I've thought that, but I've also thought because Travis is like a famous football player that she would like look down the block and see kids in his jersey and
Aw,
think that's so sweet.
mind blown.
There could be a kid in the class with one of their kids and like they're wearing a Travis Kelce jersey or a Taylor Swift shirt and I just think that would be so funny. Can you imagine like being Taylor Swift's kid, like and Travis Kelce's kid, and like you're just like, oh yeah, that's my dad, that's my mom.
Shake part of the bridge that that always makes me think of Sydney is I thought I had it right once, twice, but I did not. And like I know this is really it's a mixture of like sick and really sad, but I almost envision like a TikTok or an Instagram edit of Sydney. I'm like, she thought she had it right once, Billy, twice, Derek. She didn't, or Kincaid, she did not. And now she has Mark, and because she knows what she wants. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope it would be more like Derek and Kincaid. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think Sydney was ever like, I'm gonna marry this guy. Maybe that dick's fun. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm gonna make a nice transition here as we go back to Scream for a second. So, the song wish list, instead of S's, she has the dollar sign. So wish list, we have two S's that are replaced with dollar signs. One of my wishes, and that's on my wish list for Scream 7, it relates to money. Opening weekend, I would love it to make a $50 million opening. That's really steep. Screams 2, 3, and 5 made in the 30s. Scream 4 made 44.5. It's not impossible. It's kind of what the Halloween sequels used to make with Jamie Lee Curtis on their opening weekend. I would love for Scream 7 to have a $50 million opening, just a massive success, a wave of success for Sydney, for this moment, for the franchise, for the fans. That would be my biggest wish there. So, I mean, it may not happen, may not get what I want, but I know what I want. So, Ash, what about you?
I really hope it does really well. I've seen a lot of people being excited about possible like like the popcorn buckets and cups, and I hope it does well because I think that the people who are making this movie are excited to make it and have passion for it, and it would be fun if this, like, makes it so that, like, a lot of more, like, fun horror movies that can get made, like, revitalize some things and have it come back and have horror be well, I feel like right now, actually, like, horror is being respected in a way that it hasn't been in a long time, and I feel like it would be fun if there was a resurgence of fun horror movies that are good, like, but also, like, it's fun seeing people get nominated for Oscars and movies getting nominated for these types of things, and I just went and saw the movie Send Help, and I thought it was really fun, and, like, the audience was, like, snacking on their popcorn. I got to see a exclusive screening of it before it came out, and there was one scene where this man was like I literally saw him squirming in his seat, and his
Mhm.
girlfriend was, like, laughing so hard at the movie, like, not at him, and he was squirming because like, he couldn't handle what was happening on screen, and that's what I want for horror movies. Like, I'd love to see something where some people can handle it, but I will say with Scream, I hope it sticks to what I think is, like, the core of Scream, which is, like, I don't have to see boobs, and, like, the gore doesn't have to be so outlandishly gory, it can be fun.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I think that's what the goal would be. Like, I think, isn't it so great that Wes Craven stuck to that outline and those principles as it pertains to the nudity and even like, I mean, I know that Scream 1 is gory, and all of them are gory to an extent. But like, I don't know. There was just something very classy about the way that Wes did Scream. And I will give Radio Silence credit. They did not do cheap nudity, cheap sex in their movies. I have every faith in the world that will continue. If anything, Kevin may be taking off like some shirts of some, hunks, but like, I don't know. So I hope that like Scream maintains that level of respectability. Um, so I agree.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think I've realized how much that the no nudity made me like the Scream movies so much more because there is this like element of exploitation in some nudity type scenes where it just feels like this just feels like you just wanted to show some boobs so that whoever likes what looks some boobs. Predominantly, they're doing it for a male audience, it feels like. I
Yeah.
don't think they're doing it for ladies who like looking at boobs too.
Well, I'm willing to make a bet there won't be any sex in Scream 7. And if there is, I think that the only sexy time we will see will not be with any teenager. It will be with Sydney and Mark. I think that if anything, we'll see them more passionate than we'll see anybody else in the movie, especially like the younger cast. I just don't think Kevin is about that. I think so in a way, it would also be cool just from like a feminist perspective to, because as women age, their sexuality is taken away from them by pop culture in some respects. So the idea of like Sydney Prescott being, in her 40s, with a daughter who's about to turn 18, and she still has a passionate relationship with her husband, I think that's actually a really positive thing to show on screen.
Yeah, and I feel like there's like really nice ways to do it without it being like or just being like I feel like I'll watch a movie and like obviously sometimes it makes sense. Like watching Sex and the City, I'm not like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're showing this." But sometimes in movies, I'll be like, when, like, it just doesn't make sense, and I almost, like, feel awkward being like, I feel like I'm intruding. Like, I feel like I'm not supposed to be seeing this. Or sometimes I go, "Oh my god, this must have been the most uncomfortable awkward thing to shoot." All I can think is being like, "Oh my god, this would have been so weird." Like, there's really tasteful ways to do scenes like that, and I think that, but yeah, I would love to see, like, the passion in the relationship, no matter how that's shown, like her spanking him on the butt. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, and the daughter's being like, "Oh my god, mom, you're so, like, fuck off," or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just showing that they're passionate about each other and that spark is still there. I love that idea, and I think Kevin Williamson is able to do those types of scenes, like in other things that he's done, where it doesn't feel like anybody is feeling uncomfortable with it. Like, it just feels, like, genuine. Like, it doesn't feel like, "Why is this here?" Like, I'm just not somebody who likes things in movies just to have them there. It's like you wouldn't pay a bunch of money just to blow up a car. So it's like, don't show something gross, and don't show something exploitative without it being like it makes sense for it, if that makes sense.
So to kind of round out the topic, the wish lists, Taylor gives us, dozens of kind of wish list items in the song. That she kind of throws out, reference after reference. Oscar on the bathroom floor. My personal favorite is the fat ass with the baby face. It was just so funny to hear Taylor Swift say those words at a song. But so that she also says that they want the freedom living off the grid, which is very Sidney Prescott. But my favorite one is whenever she says they want that spring break that was fucking lit, and then that video taken off the internet. That's the irony, is like you want to have all these things, but you don't want the consequences. But Ash, is there any part of the song wish list that in the lyrics that you want to give a special shout out before we sign off?
I think my favorite is just basketball hoop. I know that sounds so funny. I just love how she says basketball hoop, and I love how it's not even like what she's saying. I love how she says Real Madrid, like having a contract with Real Madrid. And I think that's just also, that's a soccer team, if people don't know, because I liked how she incorporated all these things, and I thought it was funny how she picked, like, a football team that isn't, like, an American football team, and it's
Mhm.
like her boyfriend plays football. I don't know, I just thought that was kinda funny, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh. Well, Ash, thank you for doing this wish list episode with me. Please tell everybody where they can find you and our game of the week.
You can find me at Squirrel and Spud on Instagram. It's at Squirrel and Spud 9, and there you'll find all of my fun insights into the world of Taylor, Scream, Squirrels, whatever I'm in the mood to post that week. And also you'll find the Scream game of the week that Ryan and I post. We usually do it on a Wednesday unless an episode is going to be dropping, then we'll push it to a different day. But it goes up once a week, and please participate. We have so much fun in them.
So, Ash, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
All copyrighted material used or referenced in this show belong to their rightful owners and made possible by the Fair Use Act.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, "I'll be right back," because you won't be back.
Get another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
Dear God, Ryan,